Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we'll masech the Avodah Zarah daf Lamed. We are going to begin on the very top of Lamed Amid Aleph, the second line from the top. So we were learning in yesterday's daf some of the dinim of yain mavushal. When it comes to a person who is an oibid avodas kachavim, an idol worshiper, they also are bringing not just animals but also wine on their altar. However, they will only use non-mavushal wine. Anything which is mavushal, yain mavushal, they would not put on their altar. And therefore, because of that, we have different dinim when it comes to the laws of yain nesach, when it comes to mavushal wine. In addition, it's not necessary if you have yain mavushal of our wine, that it's in the hands of El Kachavim. We said that we do not require a chaysim b'say chaysim, a double sealing, but rather one is enough because they wouldn't use this for their avodah zarah anyway. So as the Gemara continues on Daf Lamed, Tana Rabbanan, yain mavushal as well as va'alonitis shel El Kachavim asura. So not only is cooked wine, but also a liquid which was produced from old wine, we say that it's still asur. Says Rashi, Shahari tchilaso yayin, because it started off as regular wine, and as we said, that once it already has the isur, so heichen paka, it's not going to go anywhere. It stays on this thing. And then the Gemara continues, alonitis kivriyasa mutaras. However, if let's say the Yisrael made it in this particular way, then we are lenient and we say it's fine. It says Rashi, it was not originally in their hands. It was purchased from a Yid. So ve'ezuhi alonitis, what exactly is this? Could it not? Gabi Shabbos, we learn regarding the dinim of Shabbos, oisin anumlin, vein oisin aluntis, that you can make on Shabbos, which these are all drinks, and a nemulin, but you cannot make an aluntis. Now ve'ezuhi anumlin, ve'ezuhi aluntis. So anumlin is yayin. So this is what you are allowed to make: a drink with wine, v'dvash v'pilpalim, which has honey and pepper and like spices. Luntis is yain yashan. Here we're talking about old wine, umayim sululim, and clear waters, the afresamoin, as well as balsam, the abdi lebe masusa, that's used in a bathhouse. Says Rashi, why not? Why can't you use this on Shabbos? Because he says, shil refuah. The whole purpose is for medicinal purposes. With stanin to cool off, because when you leave a bathhouse and you're all sweaty and you maybe even feel dehydrated, so this drink was actually a refuah from leaving the Beit Masus of the bathhouse. So B'derech Agav, that teaches us again what exactly is this drink. Rabbi Yosef Tuvayu Yain Mozoig, when you have wine that's diluted, that's not considered to be an issue of gilui. Gilui, says Rashi, the whole issue of leaving a drink open and exposed is that a snake may have some point entered into this area and put venom in it, and it's a sakana. However, when it comes to even a snake, they're not going to come near diluted wine. Yain mavushal in mishum nisuch. And when it comes to yain mavushal, also there's no din of yain nesach, as we said before. Iboylu yain mavushal yesh mishum gilui or ein mishum gilui. How when it comes to gilui? Some people, you have like cooked wine. It's not high quality wine, so but people drink it. Maybe a snake wouldn't even drink it. So Tashma Hayed Rabbi Yankov Baridi al Yain Mavushal Shein Mavashim Gilui. He actually testified about it. Rabbi Yana Bar Yishmuel Cholish He wasn't feeling well. Rabbi Shmuel ben Zirud, Rabbanu Shulibe. So they went to him to see how he's feeling. He asked to become a boil, and they asked a question. The question is like, why was that the question that they would ask? So Rabbi Shmuel ben Zirud, Hachiyam Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Mishum Gabarabo, Manhu Rabbi Chia. You heard from the name of the great Rabbi Chia. The Yan Mavushal in Mishum Gilui. Again, we have another opinion like that. Amrulay, so Amrulay Nismoich. Machmil Rav Yana bar Shmuel Olai Vial Tzavarai. So he pointed to him upon me and upon my neck. So basically, he was saying that it's true. Now Shmuel of Avle, Haviyasvi, they were sitting there. They brought them this cooked wine, mashchel yadeh, that was in the hands of a goy. It's not a problem that an akum is holding it because there's no din yain nesach on yan mavushal. Amtid Rav Chia, the matron of Rav Chia, iguyila, she left it uncovered yain mavushal. Ahu chamra mavashal. So asa committed Rav Chia, Armullah hari amr yain mavushal misham gilui. So it's no big deal. Showed Ravad Barava, so he heard this. Igolile Chara Maziga, and he left this diluted wine open. Amalei Hariyamar Yain Mozuk gave him Mishim Giloi. Yain Mozuk is also not an issue. So Ramaba Lo Amran Ella Damasik Tuva. The only time we say it's not a problem if it's fully diluted. Abu Mazik Lo Mazik Shos. However, if it's somewhat diluted, somewhat not diluted, there snakes may drink it, and therefore it's dangerous. Umazig loy mazig mishasi. Is that true? If it's somewhat diluted, snakes will drink. Vaha Rabba baravhuna havikozel ba'arva. They were going on a ship. Vavi nokit chamr bahadeh. They had wine. V'chazahu chiyah. He saw a snake. Did sari v'yasi. So he saw the snakes. This Rashi mavaka b'mayim muvah. It was like taking water and coming. Armoli Shami, so he said to his servant, Sami Einai Dedain, blind the eyes of this. Says Rashi, Herolo Anachash Dover Shikutz Beyayin Zevi Yishu. So Shokil Kale Maya, he took a little water, Shadabe Vitsar Lachure. So what do we see here clearly? That when it came to this particular snake, right, we find that this story demonstrates that even though they did put a little bit of water into it, right? We see again. We were trying to say this chiluk that if it's muzig v'lo muzig, that they may drink from it. We see they will not. So achme moser nafshei. So this snake was actually moser nefesh. However, on drawing water, on drawn or diluted, it will not be moiser nefesh. So, let's see if Rashi says, "Moser nafshel lamois v'avashosel le'in koil." Okay. However, mihu kilu chazu le'shosi. If you don't see it, you can drink. Avam ziga lo moser nafshe. You're telling me that they're not going to on drawn liquid, they won't be moist in nefesh. But Rabbi Yana havi be achburi. There, he was in this particular location. Yermul bar hedya havi be achburi. It was bar hedya, the famous bar hedya in Brachos. Havi yasve v'havi kashasu chamra maziga. They were drinking this diluted wine. So pashahu chamra b'kuba. So there was some wine that was left in there. V'sarunhi biparvanka, and they covered up with a cloth. They saw this snake. The shakomayit, and they took water. V'rama b'kuba, adamoli b'kuba, until the water got filled up. V'solik chamrle parvan kavashasi. We see it still drank. So Amri the mazik yushasi. If the snake itself diluted it, then it will still drink. The mazik achrin, if someone else does it, lo shasi. So this story, somehow the snake put water into it, and therefore because of that, they would drink. However, if it gets diluted by someone else, then the snake would not drink. Okay. Says Rashi, this is something which is potentially life-threatening, dangerous. You're trying to give answers to questions of contradictions. So we should rely on these answers. We're not going to make any distinction. I don't care if it's somewhat diluted, partially diluted. If there's any chance, we're not going to allow anyone to drink. Because if someone drinks from this wine, it's possible that a snake did dilute it. Maybe it's this type of a snake. Maybe only when the water is put in by it. Maybe if it's not so diluted, as opposed to very diluted. No. When it comes to yain mozoig, we don't care. We're just going to say it's an issue of giloi. We're not taking any chances, so don't drink it if it's covered up, if it's uncovered. And there's also a din of yesh bo mishum yain nesach. If it's yain mozoig, or yain mavushal, ein bo mishum giloi, ein bo mishum yain nesach. It's true that when it comes to yain mavushal, a snake's not going to drink, and an akum is not going to pour. Shamid Rav Chilki Bartuvi Galiahu Kista Damaya. So he opened up this amount of water. It says Kista's Sham Midas Yain Shibi'ir. Vahavi Noim Gabon. He was like dozing off near it. Also Gabe Rav Chilki Bartuvi Armili Hari Amru Amos Yashnalehen. The fear of the sleeper is upon them. In other words, the snake won't come, even though you're dozing off near it. So you think, well, maybe you're not seeing, but the snake doesn't really understand. So the fact that you're there, the snake is not going to come. That's only during the day that you can basically scare away the snake from coming. However, at night, a person who's sleeping will near the water won't matter because the snake will still come. It's not true. It doesn't matter if it's day or night. We do not say that there's a concept of amos yashan. In other words, even in the day, we're not going to take any chances. So therefore, even during the day, we're not going to allow this. Let's look at question 7. Yain mozog yain mavushal him yesh behen mishum yain nesach. So we end up saying a maskana. Yain mozog is yain nesach. Yain mavushal there's no din of yain nesach, which is similar to TA12. Believe the hilchs yesh chash gilui v'chash yain nesach b'mozog mavushal. So again, these are four questions. So again, when it comes to mavushal, when it comes to yain. Mazoig, we're concerned of gilui, but we're not concerned of let me see how he writes it. But mazoig chashinan, but mavushal in chayshishin. So we're only concerned of mazoig, we're not concerned of mavushal. Okay. But Rav Shasi Mebei Arma. Rav would never drink water from this Mebei Arma. Who is this non-Jewish woman? Armalei Zahiri Armer Lo Zahiri Begilui. They're not careful about these things. Therefore, there could be something in there, some poison. However, Mebei Martala, when it came to a Jewish widow, Shasti, Omer Sircha de Gavra Nikita. She keeps her husband's traditions. And as her husband probably always covered up the water, so too does she. Shmuel lo Shasi Maya Mebeir Malta. Omer Leislai Masa de Gavra. Her husband's not alive anymore for her to follow these laws. So she doesn't cover her water. Arma from this non-Jewish woman, Shasi. It's true. They're not particular about covering the liquid because of a snake, but for another reason, for cleanliness, so that no dirt would fall in. They are makbid. Ikadamri Rabbi Shasi Mai Mebe Arma Avo Mebe Armalta Shasi Shmuel Shasi Maya Lo Mebe Arma Lo Mebe Armalta. Maybe not from either. Amir Bishub and Levi Shosh Yainos, and there's three different types of wine. Van Bahem Misham Giloi, that we don't have to worry because no snake's going to come anywhere near it. Bel Chad. So Rashi says Chad is Charif Machmas Pulpolum, very sharp wine. Mar, bitter, or Matok, sweet wine. Chad Tila Charifa. One is again a strong wine. It's a type of, so Rashi says Min Yain Chazak. Vein Taimo Toiv, it doesn't have a good taste. It's rather like vinegar. Dmitri Ziki. There's Rashi, Mivaka Noidais Becheskasai, that it can even break flasks from it being so hard. Mar, when it's bitter, is Yarnica. Rashi says just Ra Umar, it's bad. And then Matoik Chulia, says Rashi, Matok Machmas Hashemesh, because of the sun. B'toich Hanovim B'shuv Einoi Hagoy, because the sun has hit it so long, it makes it not good anymore. Rav Chamam Masni Leilui Chad. So he learned with regard to these three wines as a praise. Chad, the sharp wine, is Chamar Polpon. It's wine with delicious spices. Mar, bitter, is Afsintin. So and laws. Mataik me bar, which Rashi says Mashka Meshubuch, a very good high quality wine. Amar Rav Shimon ben Lakish, Krina Ein Boy Mishum Giloi. At Krina, there's no din of Giloi. So, okay, what's that? So my Krina, so Amar Rav Avoy, Cham Rachalia, it's this sweet wine, Yossi Masya. Fine. So Amar Rav Kaima Yesh Boy Mishum Giloi. In its place, there is an issue that snakes will still drink. In my time, Chamar Medinahu. So it's interesting. So in the location itself, a snake will drink this common sweet wine. So even though typically a snake would not drink it, but because in that town where it's made, they kind of got immune to it, they got used to it. This wine that began to sour, ad Telasium, the first 3 days, since people will still drink it. It's still an issue of Yain Nesach, because again, people will still drink it. However, as we continue to Lama Beis, after 3 days of it already getting more and more spoiled, even after the 3 days, my time. Zimna mikri shasi. Maybe the snake will drink. Tanaban yain tais. When it comes to fermented wine, emam mishum giloi bekama tisi sasai. How long is it for fermenting? Gimel yomim, 3 days. Question 8. Yain taisis, the fermented wine. O shachal hachmetz ha'im yesh behem mishum giloi. So. Yain taisis kol shloisha yamim min mishum giloi. First 3 days there's no additional giloi. Kan v'yelch yesh mishum giloi. But afterwards there is an issue. V'chein yayin shehachel hachmetz kol gimel yomim yesh mishum gilui mikan v'elchen mishum gilui. So it's just the other way around when it comes to that. Okay. Shachlayim, when it comes to wine with cress, ein behem mishum gilui. The snakes don't go near it. However, in Gol, they are knowing an isser not to drink if it was revealed. That's when there's no vinegar in it. If there is vinegar, that dish will fight with the snake. Now, the vinegar will irritate the snake, and it's not going to drink. Kuta chabavli, when it comes to this dip, which is very strong, like vinegar, Uvnei goyel again noig b'hem iser. Omer Rav Menashe ispe nikuri chayshina. If let's say the food was bitten into, says Rashi kamin makoim neshichas anachash. If you see bite marks, then we have to be concerned. Omer Rav Chia barashi Omer Shmuel. May tif, when you have liquid which is hitting like a barrel, like dripping into a bowl, in b'misham gilui. They don't like that sound. Amuravashi v'hu de'avid tif lahadi tif. So since the snakes don't like, they run away from that sound, so therefore there's not an issue of gilui because they're not going to go anywhere near that liquid. Says Rashi v'hanachash shaymei uvareach. They'll run away. Amrav Chia barashi Amr Shmuel pi te'ena. When it comes to the mouth of a day, inam b'shem gilui, kaman ki haitana. The Sanya Reelezer Omer Oichel Adam Anavim V'Teinim B'Layla. You can eat grapes and figs at night. Shenemar Shemer Peshayim Hashem. You don't have to be afraid because Shemer Peshayim Hashem. Hashem protects us. Amar Rav Safra Mishum Rabbi Yeshua. So he said, Deraima, Rabbi Yeshua Deraima, Shloishim Mini Eresein. There's 3 different types of venom. Shabachor, when it comes to the venom that comes from, let's say, a young snake, so Shaikeya, it submerges all the way to the bottom. Shalbenini, let's say it's a middle age, Mifatheya, which it will, as Rashi has been a time, it stays in the middle. Shalzokin Saf, the older one floats. So, says Rashi, okay, one second. Well, Memra, back in the Gemara, the Kama, the Kashish, the older the snake is, Choshesh Chile. It's weaker. In other words, it's not as thick. If it's a thicker consistency of venom, then it goes to the bottom. But an old snake, it floats to the top because it's not as strong. Shloisha Kolzman Shemaz Kinin, Gavura Metoisefes Mehen. There's 3 things that as they get older, most things depreciate. But there's 3 things that get better. And they of the Elohim, dog, nachash, v'chazir. These actually get better, including a snake. So it says, Koyach asufi hu dekamoisim. It's true, they may have more strength. However, zahari kolish, but its venom is weaker. Shabachor shaikeya. So he said the younger one, the venom goes all the way to the bottom. So my hilcha. So why do we need to know that? The Sanya. Chaviyish is gala. If you have a barrel that was opened up, even if 9 people drank from it, no one died, the 10th person should not drink because maybe the venom's on the bottom. So all the other people drank it. And imagine again, you drink the liquid on the top, and now all you have is the bottom. So you have to be concerned about that liquid on the bottom. Someone died. It's because the venom which sunk to the bottom. So too when it comes to a melon. So too when it comes to, it says Rashi, malafafon, which could be like a cucumber, but we'll translate as a melon. Shinis galta. Afal pi she'achol memenu tisha b'nei adam. We have 9 people ate from it. V'lo mesu. Well, Yacham and Asir, you should need it. Masahayev Yacham and Tisha will mesu the Achal Asir Mes. So Amarav Zehu Shekeya against the issue that it could have sunk to the bottom. Okay. Tanraban. So this is Rashi. Hilkach Shaminan Merav Safratuva. We're learning a lot. Rishon lo yishta. The first guy shouldn't. They did drink. The first guy shouldn't drink it. Shemanachash zakin shas sham. Maybe it was an old snake, and the venom's on the top. V'saver islamal. Soyim shouldn't drink. Shemanachash bein nihaya. Umefafeh. Maybe in the middle. Shasu tisha. So too, even if 9 people already drank it, it was always interesting. I guess maybe poison is different than venom, but there are people like Nehemiah, who was also Hishrashta, used to drink the wine before the king to basically make sure it wasn't poisoned. So again, maybe that poison is different than venom. Tanaban Mayim Shiniz Galu, water that was revealed, Harizel lo Yishvachem Bershus Rabbim. Don't pour it into the Rosh Hashanah. Says Rashi, Shema Yavar Anam Yachef. Let's say someone's walking barefoot. V'yamoid ha'arois and bein kishretz baisam. And let's say the venom goes between their toes. Basically, this has to do almost like with getting infection by things which can spread disease. V'lo yarbitz behen es habayis, and you should not basically, says Rashi, lahashkiv es ha'afar, so that the earth, the dust with your dusty floors will settle. That's what they used to do. They used to sprinkle liquid on the floor and for the dirt not to go up. So basically it gets it more moist, so it's not going to spread all over and you can't breathe. You can't do that. For that matter, you can't like make mud with it. You shouldn't water even your animals, your friends' animals. Don't wash in them. If you have a crack in your body, asr. If there's no cracks in your body, it's okay. When it comes to the top of your hand or foot, and your cheekbones by your face. Fine. Oimer mar lo yashka mehen lo behemtu behemus chaveroi ba'asanya lo mashkiu behemtus atzmoi. You could give it to your own animals. So kitan yehi was shunra. You can give it to a cat. Says Rashi, the loy mazik le eres, that this venom for some reason does not affect the cat. The shunra achale wachia, because we know that snakes are eaten by cats. So therefore, they're immune to being harmed by their venom. Yehachi the chavrinami. What's the difference if it's your cat or your friend's cat? What's the big deal? Because the chavri chachish, yedei nami chachish. So the reason is because even though it's true, it won't kill the cat, it will weaken it. So that's why you don't want to give it to your friend. So why should you give it to your own? If it's going to weaken your cat, hadar barga, it's going to get better. So the chavrinami hadar bari, it's going to get healthy afterwards also. So who cares? Zimnin the boy lizvuna umasid lemine. You may not necessarily know what your friend's business dealings are. They may want to sell this animal, and now it's weak. It's going to lose a lot of money. You know, it's going to get better, or you know that you're not planning on selling it anytime soon, so therefore it's not an issue. Okay, we're going to stop there. Let's see, possibly another question. Okay, we did yain toises. Again, fermented wine. What do we say again? The first 3 days there's not an issue of gilui. The first 3 days. And then afterwards there is an issue of gilui because it's becoming fermented. It's turning into wine, as opposed to yayin of yayin shehachel lahach, which is beginning to become vinegar. The whole Yomi ish mishim gilui. So basically, they're going in opposite directions. One is fermenting, so it's becoming wine. So the first 3 days, it's not gilui, but then it becomes gilui. However, wine which is spoiling the first 3 days is okay, but then as it keeps getting worse and worse, then it becomes less problematic for gilui. Okay. Let's see, maybe another question. So we saw question 12. Okay. TB 13. Im mutter lahashkos mayim shnizgalu lebalch. I don't even know what that says. Lebach, lebalichayim, maybe to animals. So maybe that's what it's referring to. I'm not sure if that's what it's referring to. We'll hold off. Ad kan.